Hello, we're going to be painting the Oni of Plagues from the Rising Sun board game. First up is the basing of the skin tones. We're going to be using Army Painter Uniform Gray and moving on to Army Painter Wolf Gray. The whole model was primed in Vallejo black primer and then given a zenithal highlight with the Citadel white spray paint. The paint's kept pretty thin here so that you can still get some of that zenithal highlighting shown through. In an attempt to get some higher contrast in the mouse, we're going to go right to shading with the Citadel Known Oil. Going to be building up the highlights at this time, so in order to make the transition from the uniform gray to the wolf gray, we're just going to mix them together a little bit with some real thin paints and block in smaller and smaller sections until you get to a point where it's just pure wolf gray and they are bright as highlights. Just a pure wolf gray. It's going to be our highlights. We're now adding Vallejo Ivory to the wolf gray in order to bring our highlights even further to give a better contrast. I wasn't really happy with how the layering was going right there, so in an attempt to fix my mistakes, I kind of made a glaze of the wolf gray and some of the other colors to try to bring all the colors together. This is where I got the wet palette out and made a kind of a transition of the colors from the darker portions near the inner folds of the fabric until to the ivory into the matte white. I try to use primarily ivory white here, and it's just more of a warmer color, and you really should only use the brightest whites for the extreme highlights sparingly. This took quite a while, kind of went back and forth, fixing, correcting as I went. I didn't capture it in any of the video, but after I was done, I went back with a matte black and went up under the folds there and to try to increase the contrast for the model. So we've moved on from the skin and the cloth, so getting into the hair. Again, this is a really thin paint so that the zenithal highlighting can still show through. Here we're using Mephiston Red. It's a pretty dark red. It's also really thick, so it needs to be thin, but didn't really go for too much highlight on the spear there. But later on we'll move and get some highlights on some of these other features of the model. Trying to be deliberate about the order of things that I painted on this model, trying to work from back to front over things that were harder to paint or things that were easier. Not recorded, but a layer of Citadel's Agrax Earth Shade was put over these brown portions on the swords in order to give a warmer contrast. This is where I'm kind of touching up where I had previously put in some matte black underneath the folds in order to clean up some of the work there to get that contrast. Besides the painting the cloth, this was the longest part of painting this model, and also some of the most frustrating. Greedy gold isn't the best paint for coverage. Throughout this video, I didn't record everything that I did, so there might be some parts where I put in multiple coats, multiple layers, maybe went back in with a shade. Doing a little bit of highlighting with the Evil Sunz Scarlet on top of the Mephiston Red that was shaded over. This is getting more to the point where the quality of the painting is going down just in order to get it completed, just to try to maintain that it's just a tabletop quality. You can see here, I mean, I am getting a lot of the details, but obviously some parts can be done better. This is really where the model really kind of went downhill for me, trying to do this tattoo type work with the gold. Really unhappy with how it turned out, but I felt like I'd spent enough time on this model already. Really just doing some final highlighting on some of the red detail work on the robe sashes, just adding a little bit of flat yellow. Now I'm really trying something new. I'm doing a little bit of metallic, non-metallic metal highlighting on it, just kind of blocking in certain sections with the gunmetal, which is kind of a real dirty looking metal, and then transitioning that into the shining silver, which is really bright metal, just kind of moving those together. as a running theme, I again wasn't really happy with how this turned out. Not pictured at this point was that I've already painted in the base just as a flat back with the Vallejo black primer, but it's just kind of a final highlight. I've put leather brown on top of the old leather brown that's been shaded so many times. And here's the final model, tabletop quality on my rickety Lazy Susan.